Welcome to the Killer Innovation Show, the longest continuously produced podcast in history. Each week, Phil McKinney brings you the insights and strategies to amplify your creativity and innovation skills. Here's your host, Phil McKinney.
Welcome to this week's Killer Innovation Show. Quick question. How familiar are you with outsourcing? Earlier in my career, I was a chief information officer for a telco company, publicly traded, and so therefore always got inundated with outsource your IT or outsource your finance or outsource your HR. Common practice. Earlier in my career, I also worked at Computer Sciences Corporation, which at one point won the outsourcing contract for General Dynamics. Yes, the big defense contractor, where we took over all of the IT functions of General Dynamics. At the time, it was a $10 billion deal, largest IT outsourcing contract ever awarded at that time. So lots of experience, a lot of organizations look at it. Some take advantage of it. It has its benefits. Now, if I ask you then the logical extension on that is have you ever thought about outsourcing your innovation efforts? And you're probably going, whoa, no way, because that's our secret sauce. That's what's going to fuel our growth. That's what's going to make us successful. Outsourcing of innovation is becoming a very exciting, exploding area for organizations. Many organizations just find that they don't want to suffer the potential distraction of innovation. They don't have enough of the internal expertise. They're not confident they can recruit. Leadership doesn't have the confidence that this is a sustainable thing. It's a one project or two project activity. Then what do they do with that staff? All kinds of reasons as to that it's holding many organizations back from even getting started on innovation. If you're fighting that kind of pushback from within your organization, then maybe proposing an innovation outsourcing project. Take one project on your innovation pipeline and outsource it. That outsourcing activities, your risk is pretty low. You're not hiring. You don't have staff that you got to deal with if the project blows up, etc. But at the same time, if it's successful, you can use it as a proof point and therefore then get management on board to support the internal innovation efforts. So in today's show, we're going to talk about innovation outsourcing and should you outsource your innovation process? And I would encourage you to think long and hard. It has some great potential upside, but as everything, there's no such thing as a free lunch. There's always the downside risk. So, before we jump into this week's episode, got that favor to ask. Follow, like, and share. Follow us on social media. Like this episode or forward this episode to others through the share. So again, follow us, like this episode, and share it with others. Without further ado, let's hop in to this week's episode. The outsourcing of innovation is a new and exciting way for companies to increase their overall innovation competitiveness. It's a variation of what some call strategic outsourcing. Many organizations outsource their HR and their IT or their finance. Now, innovation is another one of those priorities that can also be outsourced. By turning to other organizations such as an innovation agency to help them develop and implement new ideas, firms can improve their bottom line while also freeing up resources to focus on other areas of their business. Now, here are a few examples of how outsourcing innovation can benefit your organization. One is increased efficiency. By working with an outside organization that specializes in innovation, organizations can save time and money that would otherwise be spent on trying to develop the diverse expertise needed to innovate new ideas in-house. This arrangement also allows firms to tap into a larger pool of creative talent, which can lead to more successful and impactful innovations. Another one is improved quality. When organizations outsource innovation, they can choose to work with the best and brightest minds in the field. This ensures that the ideas being developed are of the highest quality and, most importantly, have the greatest chance of success. Another benefit is faster implementation. Again, one of the benefits of outsourcing is that it can help companies bring new products and services to market faster. By working with these external teams, firms can bypass that internal R&D process, the internal innovation antibodies, the internal everybody wanting to stick their nose into the project. This will speed up the time and speed up the pace of being able to bring new innovations to market. Another benefit is reduced innovation risk. When companies outsource, they can minimize the risk associated with developing and launching a new product or a new service. These outside firms can test ideas before investing significant resources into them, and this helps reduce the likelihood of failure, wasted effort, and a misuse of the human resources within your organization. Another benefit, increased flexibility. An outsourcing activity can give companies the flexibility to scale up or down all of their efforts, R&D, their core products, and innovation as needed. This type of arrangement allows firms to respond quickly to changes in the market or in their business environment. It provides organizations with the ability to try out new ideas without making long-term commitments, such as hiring hard-to-hire expertise. Now, there are many approaches to outsourcing innovation. It isn't just simply throw it over the wall and give it to another organization. Here are a few of the most common models for innovation outsourcing. One is project-based innovation. Under this arrangement, companies work with an outside organization on a project-by-project basis. This type of arrangement can be helpful for firms that only need help with specific projects, specialized skills, or want to test out a new relationship before making any type of long-term strategic commitment to external collaboration. Another model is joint venture for innovation. A joint venture is a partnership between two or more companies that formed to undertake a specific task or project. This type of arrangement can be beneficial for companies that want to share the risk and rewards associated with innovation. A third approach is innovation strategic alliances. A strategic alliance is a partnership between two or more companies that are formed to achieve a common innovation goal. This type of arrangement can be beneficial to bringing together a long-term relationship, repeated efforts around innovation, not tied to a specific project, but this is an alliance that will have multi-generational innovation activities as a result. Another model is innovation licensing agreement. A licensing agreement is really between two parties that grants one party the right to use the other party's intellectual property. Now, this can be beneficial in the fact that if you've developed some form of IP and some other organization is interested and they can enter into a new market that you have no interest in, it allows you to outsource that innovation effort and get it into a new market area, and in return, receive royalty structures, etc. And another model, and one that I have used in my career quite often, is innovation by acquisition. Now, in this case, you have used an outside firm. They have done great work for you. You've done maybe a project base with them. Maybe you did a co-innovation joint venture activity where you split the risk. In this case, this arrangement is about acquiring that company after you've had some experience with them and allows you to build up your innovation capabilities. It's almost like a try before you buy type of a model. The benefit on this is that you can get very, very deep expertise, proven expertise that would be extremely difficult for you to try to go hire, recruit, and build up. So it allows you to establish and innovation capability inside your organization very, very quickly. Now, let's talk about a couple of examples of successful innovation outsourcing. Now, there's been tons of successes, but let's talk specifically about two. Well, first one is Apple's work with Foxconn. In Apple's work with Foxconn, the company outsourced the manufacturing of its products to Foxconn, which is a Taiwanese firm. This allowed Apple to focus on the design and development, while Foxconn handled creating the innovations that would be needed to actually manufacture the product. So in this case, Apple innovated the design and functionality. Foxconn innovated the manufacturing and production. This arrangement has proven very, very successful and allows Apple to create and introduce new products. And then this is a model that has pretty much become dominant in the electronics industry, and in particular, consumer electronics, such as your mobile phones, laptops, tablets, any of those kinds of devices. This is the model. This is the innovation outsourcing model, where you are outsourcing some element of that end-to-end innovation control. A second example is IBM and Lenovo. Now, innovation outsourcing is nothing new for IBM. IBM works with a lot of companies over the years to work in co-innovation, collaboration environments, etc. And in fact, IBM had been working with Lenovo on things like sales channel collaborations, etc. And they've been working to develop new kinds of products, joint services, etc. Their relationship got to the point that in May 2005, IBM sold its PC business to Lenovo and is an example of an innovation by acquisition. They built up this relationship over time. They've proven their ability to work together. Lenovo approached IBM, and IBM agreed that Lenovo was in the best position to take IBM's PC business and move it forward. This move allowed IBM to focus on its core business while giving Lenovo the staff, the innovation management, the expertise to innovate and bring new products to market. This arrangement has proven to be successful, and as over the next 10 years, Lenovo has become the number one PC manufacturer. Now, while there are some great examples of successes, there are also ones that have had some big failures. Not all innovation outsourcing works out, and you have to think about your approach to outsourcing very, very carefully. The example I want to talk about is BlackBerry and TAT. TAT standing for the Astonishing Tribe. In this case, BlackBerry worked with TAT, which ultimately resulted in BlackBerry acquiring them. The original innovation aim was for TAT to take over the user interface, user experience development, while BlackBerry would focus on the hardware design of the BlackBerry devices. And the BlackBerry devices back in the day were the device that you had to have. And BlackBerry got themselves into a position where they were trying to create a new set of operating systems, etc. And they were just struggling to move off of what was the early versions of BlackBerry and make them competitive in against the markets of products such as the Apple iPhone. Now, there was a lot of hope that TAT, in the original relationship and the partnership, that TAT would bring their technical expertise, their development processes, and the magic they applied to polish the Android interface. And TAT is the group that was behind the original development of the Android interface that's on every Android phone out there. There was hope that TAT would bring that magic to BlackBerry. In 2010, BlackBerry acquired TAT. It's another example of innovation by acquisition. TAT was a 180 people strong team that focused on innovating user interfaces and user experiences. And again, the goal was for TAT to help BlackBerry recapture market share from Apple and Android. Unfortunately, The arrangement did not prove to be successful. TAT and BlackBerry were unable to develop the operating system fast enough to keep up with competition. Much less, BlackBerry assumed that when TAT would come inside, it would integrate itself into BlackBerry. It would act like BlackBerry. It would report and status and procure and operate like BlackBerry. And in the process, I would argue BlackBerry destroyed TAT, destroyed the innovativeness, the creativeness that TAT brought to the table. As a result, BlackBerry lost market share, and BlackBerry and TAT was forced to lay off a significant amount of staff, and BlackBerry had to go in a completely different direction. So why did they fail? Why do some succeed and some fail? So first, the companies involved in an innovation outsourcing activity need to have a clear understanding of what they want to achieve. And everybody has to be on the same page. Do not shortchange this. This is critical. Both parties need to clearly understand. Second is the company should have a strong relationship and they be able to work together effectively. The key part here is they must have a strong relationship. In this case, they must have similar cultures. And I would argue that one of the key elements for innovation outsourcing that I've been involved in is when they have that certain level of familiarity. The CEOs know each other. People on both teams have worked together in the past. When you find that kind of linkage, your likelihood of success grows significantly. And then third, and probably the most important, is able to trust. Having trust in each other. Understanding what the objective is, having a strong relationship, and having trust. And then the one piece that a lot of people underestimate the effort is commitment. Commitment of time, people, and money. Outsourcing isn't that you're just going to write a blank check and throw it over the wall and wait for this magic shiny object to come back across the wall. You have to commit the time. You have to commit the effort. You have to do that and engage and be there and be supportive and be actively involved. Outsourcing doesn't mean blinders on, hands off. You have to be engaged. And so, those are just some of the challenges of the innovation failures. And again, it falls down into the finding the right partner. Who is the right partner? And in some cases, you don't want to be reactive. You don't want to all of a sudden run out and outsource, just because of the challenges in the marketplace, or a competitor came out with a radically new product and you haven't even started on a competitive response. You have nothing in your pipeline that's going to counteract this new innovation coming from a competitor. Don't think you can just run out and hurry up, outsource this, give this to somebody, and tell them they got to have it done in quickly. You have to be strategic around this. You have to build these relationships. If you think that's going to be an opportunity for you in the future, start building those relationships now. Now, when done correctly, innovation outsourcing can be an incredibly powerful tool that helps you accelerate your growth. However, it's also important to understand the risks and challenges involved in innovation outsourcing. And you want to get ahead of it. Don't wait until a problem occurs. Start building relationships now, even if it's just small little projects, or just having discussions, or just pay for periodic meetings with leading innovation agencies. Do not ask for people to review your ideas for free. I'm going to say this right now. I literally get thousands of requests every month with innovators with great ideas who do the proverbial, hey, can we have a quick Zoom call? I want to show you an idea. value that person's time. Now, I do a lot of that. I get on a lot of free Zoom calls to try to give some feedback, some level of encouragement. But if you're trying to build and prepare for an innovation outsourcing, pay for an hour a month for the CEO of an agency to spend time with your CEO just talking about innovation, just talking about the work that you're doing. Think of it as almost a coaching, mentoring kind of a relationship. And then build that up. Once you've established that relationship, then when you do need it, that relationship, familiarity, and expertise is there. Now, the real point on that here is if you don't prepare and a competitor comes out with an innovation and you're not ready and you don't have a relationship to outsource innovation efforts, then you have to consider the cost of innovation failures. When a company cannot innovate, it's going to cost them in a number of ways. First off is you lose market share. Second, you're going to miss out on the new opportunities. And third, which I think is just abhorrent and a sign of bad leadership, is when you have to lay off staff because you were not ready. That is a failure of leadership. And in an extreme case, it could result in the failure of the business. It could put you out of business. Nobody thought BlackBerry would ever go out of business. Nobody ever thought Nokia would, totally fail. Nobody would have ever bet against Kodak, right? These are just some of the examples of businesses that failed to innovate and did not think about the possibility of innovation outsourcing to help them expand and move into areas that maybe is not their core business, but things that they should have been and should be involved in. And look, the cost of innovation failures can be extremely high. So it's important for companies to understand the risks. You have to understand that if you're not ready, if you can't scale up your internal innovation efforts, then outsourcing your innovation in some areas gives you huge strategic flexibility. Now, so is innovation outsourcing right for you? Is it the right thing for you? Now, it's important to understand the risk, just as we've been talking about, and when done correctly, it can be a powerful tool. So how do you decide who to partner with? One is innovation culture. In my experience, when partnering or outsourcing innovation, the alignment and that similarity of the corporate culture is the cornerstone of my decision of who I partner with, both in the form of if I'm outsourcing efforts or when individuals or organizations have approached me to take on their innovation efforts. Now, look, I'm a big believer of culture. As the saying goes, culture eats strategy for lunch any day of the week. So when looking to outsource innovation, my first step is always to look for companies with a culture that closely resembles ours, my team's. This creates alignment from the start and gives us a better chance of success. Second, proven track record. The second step is to look for a company that has a proven track record of innovation. This includes looking at their past projects and understand how they approach them. It's also important to understand their process for taking an idea from concept to reality. You should also take a look at those projects that failed and what did they learn from them. Not every project, not every agency is going to have a 100% success rate. What I would ask is if I was talking to a new agency, a new innovation agency, is send me the URL to your portfolio. I want to see the kinds of range of projects that you have done for your clients. The portfolio is probably the most important area to look into when you're evaluating an innovation agency. The third step is business model. What is the business model of the agency and how does it fit in with you? This understands of how they make money. Are they simply a time and materials agency, or are they willing to put some risk in, meaning they discount fees in order to get some of the upside because they really believe in your idea or innovation? It's also important to understand their go-to-market. Are they going to take it to go-to-market? Is that their area of expertise? Or are you bringing this innovation to market under your existing channels? Fourth is innovation capabilities. What are their capabilities? How good is it that they do? What's the range? Are they a device innovation firm, software services, user experiences, the whole wide range of areas that you can apply innovation to? What is it, and what are their capabilities? The fifth is team experience and expertise. What makes up their team? What are their skills? What are the experiences? Where are the team members that are going to be working on your innovation? Where's their expertise come from? What other projects have they worked on? Where else have they worked? What's their portfolios look like? Because that's what you're really acquiring, is that team experience, that team expertise. And that is critically important. It also helps you understand how that team operates. What is that team culture, right? We talked about culture match being one of the most important areas. Understanding the team experience and the team expertise also gives you a little bit of insight into how that culture operates and how does it feed into and support their success. Now, as we wrap up, outsourcing innovation can be a powerful tool. Going to be an incredible tool for organizations to speed up their growth and protect them from the innovation risk on the downside. And by understanding the risk and challenges involved, companies can set themselves up for success. When done correctly, innovation outsourcing can help companies reduce that risk and build a defensive wall so that they're prepared to react no matter what is happening in the outside world, whether that be competitive response, regulatory requirements, economic downturns. Innovation outsourcing is a toolkit item you should be prepared to leverage when it's right for your organization. If you're serious about using innovation outsourcing to speed up your growth, consider using an innovation agency. I would encourage you to take a hard look. We've done a series of shows on innovation agencies and how to think about them and how to identify them, how to select the best innovation agencies, or you may say innovation consultants out there. Take a look, listen to those shows. The one that I would encourage you to go take a look at is Tech Trend. You can find them over at techtrend.com, techtrend.com. Or you can drop them a message at hello@techtrend.com. Now, why Tech Trend? Tech Trend is the innovation agency that I started in 1996. I'm still technically the chairman, albeit I take no revenue, no income from Tech Trend, and I'm not really involved in the day-to-day. But you can go over to the techtrend.com site. You can look at the portfolio. You can see the kinds of projects. You can see the depth of experience and expertise. That's the type of thing you should be looking at to evaluate the innovation agency that you would be interested in working with on an innovation outsourcing project. So check that out, techtrend.com. And the quote I want to end on is giving you a quote around how to think about innovation outsourcing in the context of all the other things that you outsource. And that quote is, innovation outsourcing is like outsourcing your tax preparation. It's a necessary evil, but if done correctly, it can save you time, money, and position you for success. So, are you convinced that innovation outsourcing should be an option in your toolkit? I would argue yes. If it's not already something you've been looking into, do your research. Start engaging now with innovation agencies. Potentially build a relationship whereby an agency is acting as a coach or mentor onto your innovation projects that you're trying to do now. Or find a project that you would want to get done, but you don't have the capabilities in-house, and work with an innovation agency not about just that one project, but about building a long-term relationship, such that when you need to pull the trigger on innovation outsourcing, that relationship already exists. Or if you're an organization where you just cannot get the support for innovation inside your organization, consider establishing a long-range relationship where the agency truly acts as your innovation team. Multiple projects, long-term relationship, risk-reward structure that makes sense, etc. So, again, if innovation outsourcing is not part of your toolkit, then you're missing a key tool. With that, we're going to wrap up this week's show. Greatly appreciate you taking the time to be with us. I'm getting ready to head out on the road here for an extended period of time. We will be having new shows pretty much coming up almost every week. There probably is a couple of weeks in there where I may not be able to be on and get a show done that week. But it is the summertime. But we pride ourselves on trying to put out between 45 and 50 original shows each and every year, as we are doing right now in our 18th year of producing this podcast. Also, by the time this podcast goes live, the new website for the Innovators Network should be up. There actually are new podcasts that were being launched over there. Everything over on that site is about innovation and creativity and design. So if you are interested in those topics, and obviously you are, you would not be listening to the show, and you wouldn't be listening right here to the very end of the show, I would encourage you to hop over and take a look. We're probably within a week or two of having the site done. So if it's not the new site yet, stay tuned, go back, visit it. To get there, it is theinnovators.network. And you spell out the entire network, NETWORK. Theinnovators.network. It is a network of innovation content, videos, podcasts, and original articles all about innovation, innovation leadership, innovation applied to certain areas, such as Kim McNicholas's new show in healthcare, innovation in healthcare, all over there at the Innovators Network. So check that out. And with that, we're going to wrap up today's show. Greatly appreciate you taking the time. Love to hear your feedback. Let us know. Post your comments also over at the show notes. And with that, have a great week. Go out there, execute those ideas, and change the world. Bye-bye.
Podcasting nonstop since 2005, this has been the Killer Innovation Show on the Innovators Network.